There are many versions of Milgram's experiment. Results varied dramatically. In the trial version, all of the participants inflicted apparently lethal shocks of 450 volts.
So in August 1961, Stanley Milgram, he invited residents of New Haven to participate in what they thought was a study of memory and learning. Now, it transpired that, in fact, that wasn't the case, that actually what Milgram was really looking at was the willingness of participants to administer punishment to this learner. So rather than being a study of learning and memory, actually it was a cunningly devised drama to investigate people's willingness to obey effectively lethal instructions. Would the participants effectively kill somebody because they were asked to do that as part of a psychology experiment? And the answer, of course, was ostensibly yes.
Stanley Milgram was trying to understand one of the most disturbing phenomena of our time, the phenomenon of genocide. How can we understand the human capacity to inflict harm on our fellow human beings? And he comes up with multiple explanations, but one explanation above all dominates. When we are put in the face of authority, we enter a distinctive psychological state, what he calls an agentic state, whereby our entire focus is on being good followers, on doing the bidding of the authority figure. And we're so focused on this that we lose sight of what we do. So in a sense, we cause harm through inattention. We're like inattentive bureaucrats, like sleepwalkers who do what we do because we don't realize what we do. And to me, the danger of Milgram's, well, not so much the studies as the explanation, is it actually impacts upon the reality of whether things happen or not. If you say to people, you can't help it, you can't help but obey, it's something in the human psyche, you imply they don't have choice. And if they don't have choice, they're not accountable. And if they're not accountable, well, you can't punish them. So for any would-be perpetrator, the possibility of an excuse makes them more likely to act. And Milgram's explanation became terribly powerful. It became, if you like, emblematic of our society. It's used everywhere. It's used not only to explain the Holocaust, it's used to explain contemporary genocide, it's used to explain a general phenomenon that people do ill through thoughtlessness. And it's that explanation we find unconvincing. In Milgram's own studies, people tend to focus on the obedience, mainly because it's so surprising, mainly because you're amazed that people will do this. And that ignores the fact that actually, yes, sometimes people follow authority, but sometimes they rebel. There's resistance.
Milgram's studies are called the obedience studies. I think what you see when you look at his studies and the research that's come afterwards is this is not about obedience. That's part of the story. In many ways, it's the least interesting part of the story. Milgram captures, I think, some of the most kind of profound questions about humanity and human nature. And they are questions about when do we do good things and when do we do bad things, and more particularly, why do we do those different things? And it's that psychological conflict, I think, that draws us into the studies and asks us to ask ourselves the critical question, what would I do in this situation?